Greetings, fellow adventurers, and welcome to the Couple of Nerds podcast. I'm DnDWife, the creator of DnDWifeStories.com, and your co-host. Joining me is the man behind the screen, my brilliant dungeon master, and also my husband, Eguile. Say hi, Eguile.
Hey everyone, excited to be here sharing our nerdy adventures with all of you.
Absolutely. So what's Couple of Nerds all about? Well, we're diving into the realms of Extraeus, sharing our experiences, playing D&D in our apartment, and exploring the intricate tapestry of relationships both in and out of the game.
And we got some exciting segments for you all, from lore deep dives to crafting tips, artwork showcases, and relationship advice on and off the table. We've got a little bit of everything for every kind of adventurer.
So whether you're a seasoned adventurer or a tabletop newbie, we invite you to join us today. Tune in, relax, and enjoy the magic of Couple of Nerds. May your rolls be natural 20s and your adventures be legendary. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Couple of Nerds. I'm your host, DnDWife, and with me is my co-host and husband, Dungeon Master Eguile.
How's it going, everyone?
Welcome, welcome. Today's episode is a Traveler Chronicles episode, and in this segment, we just talk about, the experiences that we have at the table, the stories that come out of it, basically just detailing what happens to us.
Yeah, where we take usually, because our campaigns are a little long, with 8-hour sessions. So we take usually like a scene and we kind of look at that scene. We break down and look at it from a DM and a player perspective. Yeah.
So in this first sort of episode of this little segment,
we're actually really getting into the story at this point. So that's kind of the big change where all the characters have been introduced and now they're actually getting on with the story
now. Yeah. We're past all that introduction stuff. So now we're going to be focusing on the first combat experience for the travelers in this homebrew D&D campaign that we have going on.
Oh yeah, it's always important because that first combat, it kind of sets the stage for the entirety of the kind of campaign.
It does.
And it's both a kind of worrisome time for both DMs and players.
Absolutely. Especially because it's the first. Everyone is really unsure of how things will go. So it's really important to have a first combat that puts people at ease, but is also challenging.
Right. And so that's really was as a DM, that's kind of the biggest fear I have to do is it's kind of this balance of, okay, I need to make it difficult, but I also not need to kill squishies, right off the bat.
So quickly.
And the problem I found too was we recently had come off a very long campaign where the players were 19, 20. So I'm so used to having to throw cosmic gods and drag it, so it really had to be this turning it down because I had an experience where we started the Mines of Pendelver with a new table, a new group of people.
It was one of our first tables.
And our first combat, the one where it's two wolves.
Yeah.
I crit the rogue and instantly kill him without even trying. It was the first roll, the first attack, the first thing that happens, and the character was killed. So it's always been worrisome for me, how to balance that first kind of fight and show not only do you mean business, because you don't want to also make it a pushover, but also know where to limit yourself to not go so hardcore. And I feel like a lot of DMs kind of share that same kind of fear especially when it comes to the first fight. Especially for us. We started at level 1. I know a lot of DMs will say, okay, skip that, start at level 3
or 5.
To have a little bit more strength to them. But yeah, playing with level 1 characters, you have to be so careful. And I mean,
it's tough.
I had my own experiences, but I know you as a player and my other players also had their fun when it comes to worrying about when that first combat's coming.
It's worrisome, but it's also this nervous, excited energy that you get just because in the first campaign it was a lot more stressful because we didn't know what we were getting into. But I think as the time has gone on, we're a little more prepared for what the first sort of combat experience is going to be. Just because, at least for myself, I grew as a player alongside you, the Dungeon Master.
Well,
so we're kind of at competing levels, I imagine, as a player and Dungeon Master.
Yeah.
So it's a little less jarring now, but I can definitely imagine how it can be a stressful environment to be in when you're brand new right off the bat. And we did have some brand new players in this new one, and that was a big worry, especially for you. Was how do I make it a fun combat without repeating the past?
Yeah, and also that mix of veteran players as well as as rookie players. So because you have that mix, you have both a combination of players that know what to do, but also players that don't.
Yeah.
And combat can be such a frustrating encounter if you have people who are going, wait, what do I do? What do I do? That kind of turns off your veteran players who are trying to get to level at least 3 before they know their character will do anything.
Yeah, that's why we ended up changing our initiative timing and tracking, sort of, because it becomes such a sort of overarching issue as to how can we balance this with people who don't know what they're doing yet and people who already know what they're doing.
Plus, combat with 6 players is very arduous.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of people to go through before you come back around.
Yeah, like not only that, but then we also have the issues that come with being in a homebrew world. So like now that we've decided to go ahead and start fresh and build a world ourselves, build a system ourselves, we've even got custom classes now. That really changed up how we look at the game and how everything's built, because we're also kind of play testing some of these unique classes that we don't even know if they're perfectly balanced.
Right. They might not be. Some of us are playing with magic as well that are homebrew classes. So we don't know quite yet. So there is a challenge there of how do we balance it while still making it fun for everybody and not taking all the joy out.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like, it's kind of that weird kind of connection that there are to like the gaming world now, where like even D&D has to have like patch notes.
Yeah.
And like you got to kind of let sometimes the DM kind of say, hey, okay, hang on, that was way too powerful.
Yeah.
This shouldn't have been there. And sometimes you have to take that moment and just be like, okay, we're going now. This sounds cool, but if we have to change it, don't feel like I'm attacking you personally. It's just I'm trying to balance a very complicated game.
It's tough to call things on the fly, especially if it's a combat situation where everything's flying at you from all sorts of directions.
Yeah.
Like you're just the DM and 6 players are all coming at you with stuff. It can be tough to track.
Yeah. And so like for that, we really wanted to make sure we maintain not only that balance of like a system that is, relatively fair or as fair as we can do, but also that there's some enjoyment and there's fun involved as well. So we kind of have that like healthy balance so that we have kind of a foundation to work on, but we're still kind of in it to have fun and enjoy the story and kind of see what crazy things we can get up to.
Yeah, you don't want to completely cut the fun out of it. The rules are there as like the pirates, they sort of guidelines to make it more fun. They're not quite as strict,
Yeah, and so when looking at all of that into your first fight, you can see just how stressful that can be when looking at it, and also when it comes to the narrative too, because to me, the first fight when looking at it on a narrative, so it's always kind of like the Avengers moment, right? It's that moment where all the characters finally are together as a group. They may not be a well-oiled team at this point, but they're now fighting as a team, a group, and pushing forward. And so that, I think, is always what makes it like more exciting and why we really wanted to focus on it on this episode of Traveler Chronicles.
Yeah, it deserves its own special segment just because the first combat really sets the tone for the rest of the campaign, in my opinion. It just kind of gives an idea of what we're in for.
Right, and not only should we take our perspective, but there's obviously the players and our travelers that are out there. So who not better than to get our reporter on the go, Luna, to kind of give us a bit of a perspective of what the travelers feel after their first bit of combat.
Yeah, let's see if we can patch in right now and try and connect over here and get some insider perspective.
Yeah, Luna, you there?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Not getting much.
We seem to be having some trouble.
Oh.
All right, do you get it? I'm on. Talliest of holes, my friend, and welcome once again to the show we call Sir Reginald Aurelius Ignacio Golden Scale III Esquire's Travels Around the Globe. Now, as of recently, we have been following our dreadful companions who have suffered to their feral instinct. Some of my fellow kobold travelers have suffered terribly so and lost their mind. We've been traveling, sneaking behind them within the tall grass, watching their every move.
Where did they? Oh, as they seem they have found some sort of prey. As we look down, and it seems they've some sort of wagon. They have entered into the back of the wagon. It does seem like no one has seen them approach. They seem to be getting into all sorts. There seems to be somebody walking closer. Good dear, good heavens! I think he sees them. Oh goodness! It's a right battle. Oh good, what? There's a giant lion folk. He's speared one right there. Oh my goodness! Looks like is it a fine woman? She seems to. Oh my goodness! She just threw fire out of nowhere. I don't understand, ladies and gentlemen, but things are going crazy. I'm going to try to get closer. I'm going to try sneaking get close. Okay, I have gone as close as I can without being detected. Let us see if we can find out. Oh, I'm afraid our faithful companions have all been slaughtered. Well, that is the rule I hear of the Mirren continent, but these are such wild lands. They seem to be capable of speech. I'm going to get in a little close. Let's see. Excuse me, madam. I would like to ask you a few questions if you don't mind. Don't mind the camera, please. It's merely just here. Just pay attention to me.
Will you be attacking as well?
Oh, I would do things of no sorts. You see, I'm a fine gentleman. I am finely dressed. You see, as gold is my scales, as gold is my heart. I am merely a reporter, an anthropologist, not a fighter.
Oh, well, quite lovely to meet you. I'm so sorry about your fellow people.
Heavens, they had gone quite ravenous, and I just kind of was following them, hoping to get a better documentation of the effects of this lands on what seems to be the kobold kind.
It's quite interesting that you're not feral either, so it wasn't like a contact thing, like if they touched you, you would become...
Oh, heavens, no! It was done quite some time ago. They started scratching each other, then they started biting everything they could find, and it was just a mess. But, where are my manners? Sir Reginald Aurelius Ignacio Goldenscale III, Esquire.
Nice to meet you.
And you are?
My name's Luna.
Ah, Luna. So, what can you tell me about these fantastic fighters I just watched slay my kindred foe, or my kindred allies?
We're just traveling together. I don't really know them very well.
Oh, you seem to strike like a coordinated tactical team.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. We've been in maybe one or two scuffles together, a little. But nothing crazy. I mean, this is really the first time we've ever fought together.
Now, I couldn't help but notice you seem to be a practitioner of the magical arts.
Oh, yes. I've spent the last few years studying them.
Oh, yes. It does appear they ought to be of the healing kind, because it seems like your two companions over there are still yet to get up.
No.
Are they okay? One of them seems to be leaving a lot of liquid out.
We're treating them right now. I think perhaps Bogbean or somebody has something.
Oh, quite right. So anyway, what could you tell me about me? Where are you headed?
Well, we're on our way to the festival that's happening at the great city of Erinoka.
Oh, and what are you planning to do while you arrive at this festival? And is this festival allowed for all people, or is it invite only?
Oh, no. I believe most are allowed as long as you can make your way there and you're peaceful.
Fascinating.
Yes, there's no violence allowed.
Oh. Well, I'm sure we can find other things to research and intrigue our viewers.
But there's a lot of people to interview if you're interested.
Oh, quite right. Now, what can you say about yourself? Now, Miss Luna, you say.
Uh-huh.
Now, where do you happen to hail from? You seem to have very charming features.
Oh, well, I don't really know where I'm from, but I came here from the Hume continent.
Oh, come now. What investigative journalist would I be if I didn't probe for more answers?
Well, to be quite frank with you, I don't quite know much beyond the last few years. And most of that was spent really researching the magic you've seen.
Ah, so dazzling beauty forgets life and starts anew.
I suppose, yes.
I can see it now. But that's later.
Sure.
So what else can you tell me about this fine cart? I seem to smell strange, which Seems to be maybe what my companions had been going after.
Well, it is a food cart. One of our companions, actually the person who allowed us to come on this caravan, is a food vendor. He makes all sorts of good buns and stuff.
And which one would that be?
The one that's on the ground.
Quite right. Well, I would say you perhaps maybe should care for your colleagues in that time, because it's not very good manners to allow them to continue leaking like that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But if you
I should go.
But if you have time, perhaps talk to, I believe, a DnDWife, if you have a moment.
Sure. I'm sure she can take over from here. I really must get going. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Well, now that we've dispatched of the pleasantries, Miss DnDWife, what can you tell me about this role of yours in D&D?
Well, she went off in a hurry. I built Luna. I wanted to do something different and unique in this new campaign because it's a homebrew world that we created. So I wanted it to be completely different from what I've done before. Still a magic caster, which I love, but it's a whole new homebrew class that I can't really say because it's a secret. Nobody knows.
Now, what would you say was some of the primary influences that you would take with Luna?
Well, I read a lot of books, Janine Frost, a bunch of just a bunch of different people, Stephen King. And so they all come from different books that I love to read. Basically like the lone sorceress that is trying to help everybody, that kind of thing.
Quite right. Very, very noble.
And she's not really like a good person, but she's not bad either.
Oh, very well. Now, what could you say about yourself? How long have you been partaking in this practice of creating people?
Well, I've been writing stories for a long time, since I was a kid, but I've just only started playing D&D like the last 5 years.
Now, what were some of your motivations for getting into such a wonderful event?
Oh, well, I loved watching Critical Role. It was one of the first things I watched, and it was super fun seeing them all get really immersed into their characters. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to create characters I could become for a little bit.
Quite splendid, really. I quite enjoy these tales of things that I quite never heard of, but sound rather entertaining.
Thanks.
But what could you say could be some of your other interests that you have out there? So other hobbies other than just creating these fantasy characters?
No, it's not just this. I love painting. I love reading, like I said before, but I also like writing stories, which is why I have a blog where I write all the adventures of our table.
A fellow journalist?
Yes.
Oh, you must tell me how to be published. I've been trying for years.
Well, it's mostly self-publishing, if you know what I mean.
Oh, it can be quite tough.
Not very lucrative.
Dirty scoundrels. They just never want to print the truth.
Oh, I know. It's tough out there.
But was there anything else you'd like to share with your fans and loyal listeners of my some tens for fans?
Just that there's a lot that Luna has going on, and if you really want to know, just stay tuned.
Quite right. I'm sure we'll learn quite much to learn. I can't wait to wait. What do you mean? What do you mean we're losing? This is Reginald signing off. We're apparently losing the signal, but we will be back soon. Stay tuned for our fellow travelers around the world. Thank you, DnDWife. I'm sure we'll hear from you once again, but we must go.
Well, we got the signal back at least.
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, I guess thank you, Reginald, for the impromptu interview.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was good we got to see Luna on the opposite side, but hopefully we'll get her back on the next segment.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, that was a little much.
I like Reginald, but wow, he's a character.
Yeah, that was okay. Now that's with all that going down, it sounded like a lot of action was going down.
Oh yes. Quite a bit happened.
But before we get really into that, I think it's more to look at the setting up and what really caused this kind of fight to come down.
Yeah. And how did you get this all together?
And that's the moronic part on my end is that like I had probably about 5, 6, probably around 10 different sets of encounters. And throughout the first couple of sessions, there were so many points of like just these like just butthole guards and just these, all these jerks of people costing money, talking crap, doing all this stuff. Just basically me trying to be like, come on, hit this guy, come on, start a fight. I mean, I played it where the players might have started combat against each other unbeknownstly. I was trying everything I could to really try to go. And it was probably 3 sessions in before we finally had a random chance encounter based off of just travel rules.
I know, because we spent that whole week of travel with nothing going on.
Oh, it was smooth sailing because everybody was rolling great. Everyone was being peaceful. Nobody had problems paying everyone, no matter what the ridiculous demand was.
Yeah.
So it was just like, okay, is this going to be the peace campaign? Are these guys never going to lay a hand on anyone?
We're all Mother Teresa.
So really it was that whole, trying to figure out how also to space this and make this kind of work with the story, because at this point there has been no kind of real sense of threat or death, but they have heard with me setting up the campaign being like, oh man, this is going to be crazy difficult. Be prepared. You never know what's going to happen. Be ready for any encounters. And they're just kind of, to me, I felt like, and I don't know about you, which is why I'm going to ask, it kind of felt like to me like a Jack in a Box. And it was just kind of being wound way too long.
Oh, yeah.
Because I kind of even sensed it within you guys, in that you guys eventually are just taking these baby steps, because you're just like, okay, we haven't fought something, so whatever is coming, it's got to be big.
Yeah.
Because if he's been waiting until the end of this session, or he's waiting for another session, it's got to be huge. What was your take on waiting for that first combat?
It was a little nerve-wracking. I thought at first we would have a sort of mini combat on the boat. With everything that went down.
Yeah.
I for sure thought there was going to be at least something.
I was fingers crossed, because that would have been cool.
Right? That would have been awesome. But then it was like, okay, the guards are being kind of dicks. So yeah, we'll probably get into a fight here. But then nobody did anything. We all really just kind of wanted to chill and take in the new place we had just landed at. So it was very relaxing in a weird way.
Yeah. And so, and then when it was kind of funny, because then I'm rolling on kind of a random encounter table. And of course I roll on kobolds.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was and I remember laughing to myself, and I think it probably created a weird moment where I'm rolling and then I laugh, it terrifies the players.
It really does.
But it was more of something where it was like, okay, this is pretty standard. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have a ton of kobold minis?
Right.
But it was just kind of, even though it was that tropey, because really it's like, who do you pick? Kobolds or goblins?
Yeah.
That's kind of your first one.
A little bit.
We have a goblin in the party, so that would have been a little mean to have them have to slaughter their kin in the very beginning of the campaign.
That wouldn't have been great.
I wasn't looking for that dark of a story.
Oof, no.
So, and instead of it just being like wolves, at least give the comical, because I think kobolds are those creatures where you can underestimate them and they can just mess you up, which
They're
we saw
unpredictable.
in the first half of the battle.
Yeah.
But then it's also that they also are dumb as rocks,
Yeah.
which means if you start messing around or if you start showing off big things of power, they are going to naturally be scared that they are completely overrun and they're going to try to go and run out of their ways and escape, not thinking about themselves or what dangers they may walk into or fall into.
Especially knowing now that they were feral. We didn't really know that because that was our first interaction with kobolds.
And you didn't bother talking to them. You just started slaughtering them.
They started eating all our stuff.
Because and the great part about it too was that at this point in the story, they were traveling with Miguel, and so because the travelers had kind of this tag along kobold who was notorious for eating all their food, when Captain V originally finds this kind of noise, it's always just assumed it was Miguel.
Yeah, we just thought he was rummaging.
So they just walk into essentially what is now a trap because they're just so lulled now into the fact that it's just Miguel. No worries.
Yep.
Oh no, it's 6 red kobolds trying to kill me now that they found me.
Holy cow!
Them.
Yeah. How do we get past this?
So I think it made for a really great setup for that first combat to come through and really not only play the stage of be ready, and at the moment you least think it, something can happen, and that even the most simplistic creatures in this story are going to get you, and you have to worry about everything.
And they can be troublesome no matter how weak they may seem to be.
So the big thing is obviously what went down at the first battle on the road to Aranoka. And it was really kind of an interesting turn of events. Like we said, a group of feral kobolds had found essentially the party resting that night and had snuck into Tobias's food cart and began just kind of ransacking it to be discovered and then warned with V and Tobias.
Yeah.
So when they discovered it, they essentially started the fight 2-on-6.
Yep.
As all the kobolds just come rumbling out of the cart onto them, and they're just fighting back to back the entire time, trying to make distance but can't do it because they're surrounded by these little creatures.
Yep. Meanwhile, the rest of us.
And the rest of you were asleep, minus the fact that we learned that a few of you don't sleep. So you and Bricky were both not at this delay like the rest of the party because you, in fact, neither one of you were actually asleep.
Yep.
So you guys were able to react. So we had this kind of interesting stage where already secrets were being kind of revealed about certain properties of the characters.
If you were really paying attention.
Yeah. And so it was kind of that interesting dynamic. And so what happens is as they start kind of picking them off, we started seeing kind of the usages of certain powers from Bricky, Tobias, from Luna that really started shredding through some of the kobolds.
Yeah.
And so once they started seeing that kind of stuff, that's when the fight kind of devolved into this like scattering of kobolds. They try to kind of flee from the area, realizing that they
can't deal.
Yeah. And then it just becomes a game of like whack-a-mole for a little bit. But the funny thing was, you know, as you know, Bogbean and Bricky are taking care of some of the kobolds, and Luna is having her fun with the bonfire spell.
Yeah.
It's funny because during that time, both Tobias and V drop. And
Completely.
so it's you know, it is kind of humorous, you know, for me as a DM, because it's what I'm trying to avoid. And here are these two that kind of were bickering the whole time, kind of going down together, back to back, like friends. And I thought that was kind of cool because it really starts showing the instinctual bonds that get formed. Because you know, once it was like, oh, my character's life's in danger. Okay, all this bickering doesn't matter.
Yeah.
we need to
don't
live.
care.
And to me, that is where you want your fights to be. And that's where I was so excited, because it was like, okay, they're taking this not only like it is a fight, but they're also allowing their characters to react naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in the fight. So, I mean, how were you feeling with kind of this idea of it was the first reveal of Luna's capability with magics?
It was crazy.
They didn't know what class you were at this point.
No, they didn't. And even now they still don't know.
Nope.
They just know I have magic. But it was really interesting because it really followed a more realistic sense of what a battle really is, especially when you're taken off guard. It's first the people who discover it, then it's the people who are like a little more alert, and then lastly it's the people who are like sleeping like a rock.
Yeah.
So it was perfect setup. It went so well, and I think by that point we were all waiting for like the combat balloon to pop and go. So we were all ready. We were just like, okay, we're gonna do this.
Now be sure to check up on our Discord at the Couple of Nerds Discord. We're gonna submit some of these photos that we've taken at the table, some of the battles, so you can kind of see a little bit of the layout it was at the table at the time, and get a little better view as to what exactly went down during this fight.
Oh yeah.
You know, but I think with the fact that the fights went to such a level that we saw two characters drop, I think was the better point for me.
Yeah.
Because two characters, but the thing is one of them was the cleric. And so it was like, look, nobody's safe this campaign.
Nope.
Even your cleric is dropping. And now, even in that early part of the game, everybody was relying on a medicine check.
Yeah.
Because at that point, no one else has got any kind of healing abilities or special
We can
features.
only stabilize.
So it's already kind of on the ropes, where if we mess this up and they roll really bad on their death saves, we could see the end of play. And there was a thought in the back of my head for the kind of like, oh crap, what is about to happen if one of these guys go down and we just started?
Right. They're going to have to re-roll this whole thing because we agreed beforehand that we would.
Yeah. And so I think that's kind of the better thing, though, because of that, it did do what I was trying to do. It instilled that kind of fear and that realisticness of like, not only are you super weak, because, you know, the player who plays Tobias himself is also used to playing a much higher level character.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember when it's like, you know, you start realizing you don't have as high of an AC as you used to have. So when
crazy.
you used to, you know, laugh off a 17, well, now a 17 hits.
It's like being Link at the end of the game and then waking up at the beginning of the game.
You're right. It's just, you're like, wait, I was strong yesterday.
Yeah, where'd it go?
But I think the biggest one I loved about the fight is just the reveal of the different powers. You know, we had seen a little bit of Bricky's kind of power reveal reveal when he had attacked Sarsoon and kind of left him in a daze, but it wasn't really used quite offensively as it was, where he like essentially rips out the brain power of one of the kobolds and just lets him drop to the ground of no apparent injuries.
And like the brain, like the eyes liquefy out of their skull.
Yeah, and so I thought that was funny because, you know, throughout this time, Bricky had been kind of made fun of and poked at as being just kind of like this lummox who didn't have. And then when he's like, you know, nuking a kobold in one strike, everyone's like, okay,
there's more to this.
Don't push Bricky to the limit because this could be bad for my character. And then obviously with Luna, and I was kind of waiting because here I know you're a magic user, but you had gone a few sessions without revealing the fact that you could cast magic.
Yeah.
So you intentionally were like even hampering yourself that whole time in order to keep the story going. And I think it made for a great introduction for her character because she really doesn't reveal herself until we get to Aranoka.
Oh yeah, much later. Before that point, Luna was a complete stranger to everybody. Like, she hadn't really spoken to a lot of people. So it was really crazy to see her just like rip off her cloak and start throwing magic around.
Yeah. And so I think that's kind of what's going to always be set. And like, no matter what happens, we're always going to be remembering that first chaotic battle.
Oh, yeah.
And that after all was said and done, everyone at the table is laughing. They're breathing hard. They're kind of patting each other on the side because, okay, there we go. We know what we're getting into, and this is going to be a great campaign.
Yeah.
And so, just like we wanted to say, the first battle is so worrisome. It's such a stressful for not only me as a player, or me as a DM, but you as a player.
Yep.
And that not only do you want to set it up right, but you also want to just let it organically come. And that just let the play. And if you're constantly trying to worry about it fitting in, then it might not be the right combat to be your first combat.
Right.
You know, you want to make your firsts important.
Yeah, that's why I like the roll system. That way, if we catch it, then there's no combat. But if we don't and we miss something, then hey,
right,
it could be something.
And so, you know, we're also going to have to get a little more information on this Reggie and what he thinks he's doing hijacking our broadcast. But it was nice to hear from Luna and get a little more and a little bit more from you as to what went into
a little
making
better
Luna.
Perspective, I guess.
But as always, if you want to hear more, you want to like or subscribe, please check out our YouTube at Couple of Nerds Productions. We've been posting a lot of our little shorts about the story and the world. And you might learn a little bit more about these characters, but that's really the first place to go.
Yeah, and we are always posting little tidbits on the Couple of Nerds Discord, and you know, we'll have a bunch of little sneak peeks on there, special photos. You can also get some of the audio beforehand. It just depends.
It's definitely going to be where you find all the pictures from us at the table, because that's where we post exclusively the table pictures.
Yeah, so you'll get all the set pieces, all the cool little miniatures. You'll get to see them firsthand there.
But stay tuned for our next Traveler's Chronicles, where we're going to take a look at the arrival at Aranoka. This is kind of, to me, where the story actually starts. The first major town area of a campaign. I think it's going to be great to see and hear about all the different things that occur.
Oh, yeah, and it's right at the start of a major festival, so I would love to hear what that's got to do with it.
And hopefully we'll have Luna back and see who she can get her hands on to interview and get a little bit more of a kind of down to what's going on the ground level at Extraeus.
Yeah, I want our favorite reporter back. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have yourselves a good night.
Have a good one, everyone.
And that concludes today's journey through the realm of Couple of Nerds. We hope you had a blast exploring the intricate world of Extraeus. Don't miss out on the visual extravaganza over at our YouTube page at Couple of Nerds Podcast. It's where the magic comes to life with exclusive video segments, art previews, and a peek behind the curtain.
Dive deeper into our adventures by visiting DnDWifeStories.com, your haven for all our podcast transcripts and a treasure trove of content dedicated to the captivating universe of Extraeus.
Your unwavering support is our greatest treasure. Take a moment to weave your thoughts into a review and hit that subscribe button for an enchanting journey with Couple of Nerds.
Join us beyond the podcast in the Extraeus Project Discord. Connect with us, the creators, and even the travelers themselves. Witness the magic unfold in live drawing streams, game alongside us, and step into our digital tavern, the Bard's Haven. Share your stories and characters with fellow adventurers. Visit DnDWifeStories.com for the link to join our vibrant community.
Stay tuned for more tales, more laughs, and more insight into the world of tabletop gaming. Until then, may your dice be kind, your campaigns epic, and your adventures legendary.